I'm so excited to introduce to you something that I've been wearing and loving for some time now, and I think you will too. For me, when I braid or teach or go throughout my day, style and comfort are a tie for my number one priority. And that's why I love Clove shoes. I mean, you can't spell clove without love. That's Clove. And they started making sneakers for the healthcare workers like nurses who need good support for long shifts on their feet. Same as in beauty and with creators, right? You're on your feet on the go all the time. And that's what these shoes are for. They're also waterproof and they wipe clean, so there's no worries about spills or stains from any products you use. And on top of that, they're super cute. And there's so many colors for you to choose from, so it'll go with any look you have. I'd love for you to try a pair, so I've got an offer code for you. Visit goclove.com/Karen and use code CloveKaren, that's Clove, then my name, Karyne, for 20% off your first pair. You might start collecting them like I do. That's Clove Karen for 20% off your first shoe order at goclove.com/Karen. Welcome to the Art of Braids. I am your host, Karen Tenard, and today's topic is such a good one. We are talking about confidence restored, beauty, braids, and healing with Romnie Cesar of Atelier Confidence.
Yes,
And
thank you.
thank you for joining us. I wanted to have this conversation because in this time, in this day and age, I feel like there's a shift. At first, it was a big shift in increase in like natural hair, and people were growing their hair, and there's been a decline in that. And I feel like there's been an increase in hair loss and scalp damage and things of that sort. So I was like, look, with the new generation of braiders and creatives and anybody in general that is adjacently or directly associated within the beauty industry, it is very important to have those conversations. Like, how can we work together to like either reverse the effects or even just improve them or even avoid it altogether? So thank you. And Romney, I just want you to introduce yourself, talk about your brand, your story, and a little bit about it. And then we'll go into the questions and where you are in the world today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited. This is my first podcast, so this is an exciting first step in my entrepreneur journey. So I'm Romney. I am a nurse practitioner. I have been a nurse practitioner since 2018. I started off with a background in hospital medicine, and then a couple years ago, I found myself really burnt out and really wanting to create a new purpose for my career. And so, as someone who has always prioritized health and mental health and wellness, I knew I wanted to enter that space. And so, I really took time to think about it and really fell in love with aesthetic medicine. Aesthetic medicine simply is just the medicine of making cosmetic improvements. So I do that with face, I do that with hair, I do that with body, and really helping people find their confidence, regain their confidence, and just be able to appreciate a more confident, refined, better version of themselves. I specialize in natural results, regenerative medicine, which means I do things to stimulate your own cells to heal yourself, um, to get the results you want. Things that stimulate your own collagen, your own elastin, your own cell regrowth, repair cell damage. I am in Brooklyn, New York. I'm in Dumbo, a very cute neighborhood, very walkable, really close to Manhattan. So it's pretty easy for people to get to, whether you're in Brooklyn, Manhattan, Jersey, Connecticut. Pretty easy to get to from within the New York City metro area because I'm really close to a lot of train stations.
Okay, thank you again for sharing your background and then of course where you're located, Dumbo is right next to the water, so I feel like that's a prime location for like healing. Like you want to go by the water, just chill.
Yeah.
There's the Brooklyn Bridge Park where it's like a lot of trees and things like that, so I feel like that also helps with the environment. And can you tell me a little bit about the name of your brand and like how did that come about?
Yeah, so when I was thinking of a name, I didn't want to just call it like such and such med spa. I'm like, no, I want to put more intention behind it. So I really thought about what do I want people to feel when they come into my space? I'm all about confidence. I'm all about helping people feel confident inside and out so they can show up as their best selves. So I knew I wanted that word in my space. And then I thought about, the type of environment I want to be in. I wanted it to be like a studio, like an artist, like workshop. And so I started playing around with words that kind of align with that. And I found the word atelier, and it's a French word. So that felt even more aligned, with the Haitian background, growing up with the Haitian Creole, French speaking background. I felt like it also honored kind of like my culture and my roots to infuse that into the name as well. So I was like, okay, I have atelier, I have confidence. What do I want to do with that? Well, I'm like, I'm just going to bring them together. And so Atelier Confidence was born.
I
Yeah.
love that. And I love the fact that you infuse the Creole background. Like I grew up same, like Brooklyn, Haitian parents, and like Kaide dress is a Creole, like it's Creole. Like I was like, nobody really puts Creole in the front line when it comes to like
Exactly.
mainstream type of brands or anything like that. And I was just like, I like it. Like
Mhm.
let's keep it Kaide dress. And people are like, oh my God, but nobody's gonna get it. I'm like, they're gonna get it.
And
Like,
if they will get them to get it.
yeah. And they're like, where is it from? I'm like Creole, Haitian
Yeah.
Creole.
Yeah.
So I love that atelier. Like, I'm Haitian American.
Yeah. Same.
Lord Jesus. No, I think the entire concept of it, as an artist, as a creative, you're always like playing with things, trying to figure what works, and there's a joy and like a beautiful thing in creating. So thank you for that. And now we're gonna go into these questions. All right.
Yes. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay, so the first one is what inspired you to create Atelier Confidence, and how does your approach to wellness go beyond just aesthetics?
Yeah. So I wasn't, honestly, I did it out of necessity. Like I said, I had a hospital medicine background for over 10 years. And then I wanted to enter a new era in my career that felt more aligned with what I was passionate about now versus what I was passionate about when I was like 22 out of nursing school. And so I worked in med spa spaces. I worked in Midtown Manhattan in a multi-million dollar med spa. From there, I started freelancing and started working at other med spas and just saw there was a gap in their attention to detail and respecting the science and the medicine behind aesthetics, really valuing the patient experience and doing what's safe and effective and ethical, in my opinion, with the treatments that you're delivering and the expectations and the outcomes. I also knew that women of color it's getting a little better now, but still so underrepresented in the aesthetic space. And I knew that I had to be the leader and I had to be the thing that I wanted to see. I had to create what I wanted to see. There are other, Black owned aesthetic places, wellness practices, and med spas, but I mean, out of the entire pool, it's a very, very, very small amount. Um, I also saw the lack of education with my clients. I could see the difference between with my clients of color and my white clients, and like the gap in how they understood how to take care of their skin, how to take care of their hair, just the basic understanding of how aging works and how you can uh, complement your aging journey with some aesthetic treatments to support that. And so you feel confident every step of the way. I kind of created the role that I didn't see. I wanted aesthetics and I wanted wellness. And it's very hard to really find a place that appreciates them both. And so I knew I needed to create that for myself.
I love it. Like you are your own client. Like,
Yeah, basically.
like I love that. It's like that education because I feel like education is very important.
Mhm.
Hence, this podcast is like you can't really grow if you don't know the basics or in maintaining whatever treatment that you're giving, or not you giving, but as far as like the receiving, like
Mhm.
who's receiving it, how are they maintaining it outside of you?
Mhm.
So that way you don't come back like, I don't know what is, I end up messing up, certain things, and you're like, okay, I want you to know why I'm providing this for you and how you can take care of it and what you can avoid to, just kind of like make sure this goes along with your progress.
Yeah, and your goals, what you want. I can't tell you how many times I spoke to people and I would just do a consultation and they'll be like, okay, I'll think about it. And they'll be like, sorry for wasting your time. I'm like, what? Like, you came in here, you wanted education before you made a decision and spent your money. Like, that is my job. Trust me, talking to you, educating you, consulting you, that is where you get the value of me as a nurse practitioner. Just doing treatments is not where you get my value. So I always encourage questions. I always tell them, what else? What are you thinking? What do you want to know? What myths do you want me to dispel? Because I can do treatments all day. I can do injections all day. If you walk out of my door and you get out of my chair and you don't know what I'm doing, what's going to happen, what the process looks like, what maintenance looks like, what complications could look like, I'm not doing my job. And honestly, you're not getting the value for what you paid.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, and that's planting seeds, right? Once people be like, you know what? I remember she said, do this, and be like, you know what? Let me go back to them. Because it's like,
Oh.
yeah, like the education is also, I think it goes hand in hand with credibility, trust, and stuff like that. So you build that relationship without really forcing it. It's just kind of like, here you go. Like, I would rather you know what you're getting into before you start blaming me for things that you don't know. All right. So, as someone who treats clients experiencing hair loss, how do you view the role of protective styles like braids in the healing and hair restoration?
So sometimes protective is overused because I see a lot of hairstyles that do the exact opposite and are very destructive to your hair. Um, I have a lot of experience working with hair loss clients, and I mean, the amount of traction alopecia that I've seen, the amount of like diffuse thinning that I have seen due to years and years of too tight braids, too tight wigs, too tight sew-ins, too tight ponytails. It's honestly very sad because I feel like as a community, sometimes we prioritize the hairstyle versus the hair health. And what happens is you're so busy chasing these temporary hairstyles, you're destroying your hair, but then you look up and you get in the mirror and now you no longer feel confident about the hair that's growing out of your head that is yours. And so you then mask that with more protective styles because you don't want to deal with the damage of your hair. And then you just have this endless cycle and you basically wake up one day and you're like bald. And then you come see me about hair loss, and I can't tell you the number of times I do a consultation and people are in tears about how insecure they feel, how they don't like to see themselves in pictures, how they don't like to go to events, they don't like to look in the mirror because all they see when they look at their mirror is like hair loss or hair thinning or just like this big insecurity that they're dealing with all the time. And it's like, it's not worth it if that's the outcome of not really choosing protective hairstyles and just choosing things out of style, convenience, trends, and not thinking about like long term about the health of your hair and how much like hair is so personal to everyone to protect your crown. You know what I mean? Like protect it in every way. And sometimes that means choosing to be more selective of who you're going to do your hair, making sure that they prioritize your hair versus a before and after. It's not worth it. It's 6 weeks when I take my braids out if I have no hair left.
This is
You know?
this is so true.
I could see all your reactions and
Oh
you're like,
no, but it's true. It's like and it's also the products. They are slapping these, alcohol-based products on a person's hair without the education. A lot of the people who are doing, like if we're talking about braids, they're also blow drying, and like the heat within that is damaging. And then they're pulling, and then it's just like, bro. And then the amount of gel that they coat the scalp with, no nutrients are getting to it, and then they grease the scalp after it, which to me is just like you're greasing gel instead of the scalp, right? And
yeah. I mean, I got my braids done and they did the jam gel, whatever stuff. They did the foam. They did some other spray. Then they did some oil stuff. And unfortunately, I took my braids out and my hair was like coming out in clumps. I think my hair was just so dry and stressed out from layers and layers of products. It just broke off. And it was devastating to me because I was in this journey of growing out my hair and then appreciating my curls. And I'm like, this looks terrible. Like, I'm just going to go cut this off.
Yeah.
And was that 6 week, 7 week braid hairstyle worth it in the long run? No, it wasn't.
No. And he's like, oh, well, it's cheaper. It's going to cost you way more by going to someone who's affordable or within your budget when you could just save up,
And
you
have
know,
a better experience.
3%. Yeah, because then you're like, I have to take a pill. I can't go to sleep. My head hurts. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Trust me, I feel it. And unfortunately, which we'll get into this, by the time they finally do something about it, there's so much scarring that has happened with their follicles. Like, it's so far gone, even with my regenerative medicine to stimulate your cells to heal itself. Like, it gets to a point of no return where there is no stimulating. The trauma was just so severe and untreated for so long. Eventually there is a degree of permanent hair loss when it comes to how you treat your hair and how soon you go to seek a professional. Because unfortunately, you'll notice your hair is not there, but then you'll still book another appointment before you go to a dermatologist or a hair professional, or licensed professional to say like, hey, help me out. What's going on? What is this from? And how can I make this better? Like we have to prioritize the health versus the hairstyle again.
Oh, love that. Like, I really feel like this is something that needs to be talked about for like also braiders. Like when you see something, say something, you know, you're in the person's hair. Sometimes they can't even see what's happening,
You
you
can't
know.
see the back of your head. You can't see right here is missing a whole
Yeah,
half.
like hold up, I'm seeing a little thinning over here. This is a really short patch right here. Like, and I'll be like, really? Oh, and then I'll be like, okay, so we'll monitor this. And if this is getting bigger, you're gonna have to see someone. Or like maybe you make an appointment now because it's clean, like I see scalp, you know. So it's like you have to work with the health of your client. And I feel like a lot of like stylists, they don't see it that it's like more of like that's not my problem. Like they came here to get their hairstyle and it's no longer it's the hairstyle versus hair care.
Mhm.
And so
Absolutely.
it's like I feel like that should be the new shift, you know, where it's more about hair care instead of style, because I don't care how long your hair is if it's not healthy, you know.
Correct.
So
Correct. Mhm. And so our community, we love our hair. We're like switching it up. When we go on vacation, we think about what I'm gonna do with my hair. When there's a special event, a party, what am I gonna do with my hair? Whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're excited, like that is usually seen through dramatic changes in your hair, colors, cuts, dyes, whatever. And I love that about us. We're so expressive. We have more fun with our hair than I think any other community, but it shouldn't come at the cost of long term, like there has to be a balance there. We're not chasing all these vanity and aesthetic things with our hair that like we're not willing to give it the proper care so that 10, 20, 30 years from now, we're still in a good space with our own natural hair. Now, whether you choose to wear it natural or, you're relaxed or whatever, like whatever grows out of your head and that you wake up with in the morning without adding anything to it, that should be the priority. You know what I mean?
no, I get it. It should be an option, not a necessity.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so we're gonna go into the next one.
Mhm.
What can braid artists and beauty professionals do to support clients facing um, hair or scalp health challenges, especially when it comes to confidence and identity? I think we kind of
I
touched
think
on it,
you
but
kind of touched on that. Like, say something. If you see that my edges are thinning, or I got a patch in the back, or something's not quite even, like, say it. Don't just camouflage it with the style and send me on my way, and you'll see me again for the next braid style. Like, say, hey, I'm noticing this. Let me take a picture and show you. Hey, like, you should go to the derm or whatever medical professional you have. Show them, see if this is just styling, or I mean, there's vitamin deficiencies that could be happening. You could be anemic. Sometimes it's a sign of a metabolic issue. Your thyroid, your hormone levels are out of whack. Maybe it's a lifestyle thing and like you're way stressed and it's starting to finally show in your hair and you have to rethink some choices. But I feel like the separation of the person who's styling your hair and the person who could help you with your hair health should not be such a wide gap where there's not a lot more conversations with medical professionals and hairstylists to work together to like have a holistic approach to the hair. I do know of a dermatologist who actually has a hair salon within her dermatology practice because she's big on hair care and she does a lot of hair loss clients. And that is so rare, but that should not be such an anomaly. You know, we're both here, we're both helping someone feel confident in our own right, within our own specialty and our own expertise, but like there should be a lot more collaboration. Like every hairstylist should have a dermatologist or a hair care professional such as myself. I'm not a dermatologist, but I'm a nurse practitioner who they can say like, hey, I'm noticing something with your hair. Why don't you reach out to this person? I think that should just be a normal conversation happening back and forth. In addition to the dermatologist or the dermatology professional saying, I know a couple hairstylists who really prioritize hair health and who have experience with hair thinning and hair loss. They'll really make sure they take the time and the care to make sure that your hairstyles are not too stressful or traumatizing to your hair. Why don't you go to this person? I think there should be a lot more referrals, a lot more of an ecosystem with people who are truly prioritizing hair health versus chasing hairstyles and, like I said, like trendy.
Right. Like on the
Whatever.
Instagram app, like, oh, I
Exactly.
like this style. Can you do this? Like,
Exactly.
no, like I think you're right. Like having like a partnership or some kind of thing was like, oh, you need like your hair is too tight. Whoever you're going to, please stop. Go to this person. And same, like, hey, this person is here. This is the location. Like there should be like a list, a directory within both sides
Absolutely.
where it's like
And there might be, and I just don't know about it, but it's not, if I don't know about it, I should know about it. So it should be a lot more public if there is one.
I don't think there is one, but I feel like there should be like even like
Yeah.
that education, like when you go to beauty school, there's no health person like me having you on this the podcast, there's no health person that's just like seeing that link, you
Yeah.
know, or not to say there is someone, but like you said, it's rare and it's few, very few. But I think that should be the standard, you know, if you're dealing with someone's scalp.
I totally agree. And you know, I go to conferences all the time. I go to teachings, webinars, and all the time. And like a lot of times when we talk about hair health, like it will just be the dermatologist talking about it or just through that lens. And you know, I would love to see when I go to a conference and it's a topic about hair loss, like let's bring in cosmetologists, let's bring in people who do other things with hair besides the medical standpoint, so that it's a more like well-rounded picture. At the end of the day, most people see their hairstylist way more often in a lifetime before they see their dermatologist. So it needs to be more on the forefront for the people who have more touch points and more contact with people when it comes to their hair. Think about the average person and how often they go to the dermatologist versus how often they get a haircut or a trim or a dye, or even the lowest maintenance person sees their hairstylist way more than they see their dermatology professional.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes it's the stylist that's damaging it. It's like, yo, you know, okay, they're causing the problem. And so this is our last question within this scope of things is
Yeah.
how do you help your clients rebuild their confidence from the inside out? And what role does community and culture play in that journey?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I meet people when it comes to hair loss, and it is such a sensitive and sore topic. And the biggest thing I would say is everyone thinks they're the only one. Like, I meet so many people be like, I look at my friends or look at my siblings, they have a head full of hair. I'm the only one that's dealing with this, or I'm the only one in the family that's dealing with this. And I tell people like 25% of people by the time they're like 25, I think the statistics might be even more than that, but at least 1 in 4 people by the time they're 25 start noticing hair loss. Most of it is hereditary and genetic, and it is what it is. You're born with the fate of your hair
Right.
through like your parents and things like that. Obviously, lifestyle and hairstyling choices can definitely play a huge part. But I think normalizing the fact that we all don't have a head full of hair. We do suffer from hair loss. And there's certain stages in our life, whether it's postpartum, extreme states of stress, certain medical conditions that also contribute to that. And like take away the shame and the stigma of hair loss, especially for women. The extents that people go through to camouflage and hide it. It's okay if you cosmetically want to make you don't want it to be visible because it's insecurity for you. But I think same as like miscarriages and certain topics that people never talk about, and everyone thinks that I'm the only one going through this. It's not true. And I tell them like, I'm here for 10 hours today. Every 30 minutes to an hour, I see a new person, and they're all here for hair loss, and we're here 5 days a week. You are not the only person that is suffering from hair loss. And I think publicizing it, community of talking together and supporting each other and sharing tips on things that have worked. I just think that just needs to be in the atmosphere a lot more. So I always validate and kind of reassure them that they're not the only one. It's a very common problem that people deal with, and empower them with choices. Like there's always multiple ways to try to regain that hair back and to strengthen it and to thicken it. There's some hair loss that's irreversible, unfortunately medicine can't do anything for. But, I try to pair their lifestyle with what outcomes they want and say, okay, maybe this is a topical medication for you. Maybe this is oral. Maybe we're doing in-clinic treatments more often because you don't have the lifestyle where you could do stuff at home as consistently. Also kind of like showing them like there's certain hairstyles to kind of mask this a little better that will suit you. If you have thin hair, maybe wearing it a little shorter, it can appear more full, and just different tips like that. But I think the biggest thing is like validating that there's nothing wrong. They're still attractive. They're still beautiful. Hair loss is very common, and there's so much more to you than just your hair.
I love that. That was a mic drop. It
Mm.
is. It is. Like there's so much styles, short, long, like it's like, and it's not the hair, it's the confidence. Like confidence comes from within. Like once you be like, yo, I'm not my hair, like I can wear whatever. There's so many different things you could, but the goal is to be you, and just kind of like show up in the world as you and be seen instead of, hiding. A lot of people use the hiding behind hair, like, I'm like, I don't want to hide behind my hair. But it's a beautiful thing to see, but it's also good to kind of just see yourself as who you are and don't care about everybody else. Because I feel like that's what the insecurity is, where people start thinking about,
Comparison.
yeah, like, oh, what will this person think? And oh, this person, I'm like, they don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like life is too short to matter how people perceive you. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're gonna go into our last three questions, and this is more fun
Okay.
questions for people to get to know you a little bit better. So I want to know what is one thing people are surprised to learn about you?
I would say that's hard because it's like, can anything be surprising when it's a stranger? You're like, of course I don't know that about you. I will say my background in the terms of the things I've done with my career. Because, I'm 34. I'm going to be 35 this year. And I'll tell them some of the things they did. And they're like, when did you have time to do that? So I kind of have like multiple careers. Like I have my, hospital medicine career. I also have my academic career. I used to teach at NYU and Rutgers and have a lot of teaching experience doing that as well. For a long time, I thought I was going to be in academia, but it turned out it's even more corporate than corporate. And it's actually pretty toxic, and I just could not be a part of it. I love teaching. Adjunct was my favorite because I teach my classes. I got that bond with my students. They hit me up for letters of rec, and then I'm out. Once you started adding like weekly meetings and committees and reappointment and all the other stuff involved, I was like, no, you suck the fun right out of it. Yeah, and I've been a medical director before. I've helped start a aesthetic startup. I've done a lot of different things. I've tried a lot of different things, and yeah.
Okay, I am surprised at the NYU thing because
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what do you mean you taught at NYU? And so yeah, that's surprising. Okay,
Yeah.
now second is what is a book that you're currently reading and would you recommend it and why?
So I'm in a gap between books right now. Um, but I try to read at least one a month. Sometimes life gets in the way of that, but I try. I will say the one I most recently read that I love was The Psychology of Money. It was recommended to me by multiple people around the same time, and I'm like, this is God like telling me, girl, if you don't get this book, I kid you not, it was recommended to me by like three different people in a span of a month, right? And I think that's also because I'm in this very early stage of entrepreneurship, and I think about money all the time and the finances and the numbers and everything. But, it kind of helped me reprioritize what I want my hard work to go towards. I want to buy back freedom. I want to buy back time. I want to live my life with choices and not have money be the thing where I'm doing things I don't want to do for the sake of money, or staying in places longer than I need to for the sake of money, or not being able to take time off and rest because of money. Like, it really has given me purpose instead of just wanting from, I mean, we all want money. It helps us pay our bills. It helps us buy nice things. It gives us opportunities. But ultimately, when you work so hard, what are you working hard for? And when you do get that money, what are you going to do with it to have it be more in line with what's important to you versus like a lot of external material things that marketing, the government, and all these external factors convince us that we need all these things to make the economy run. But it's all just a scheme to get us to overconsume and help the economy. But like, we don't need 50% of it at least.
Yeah, I think that is true. And then you could do a lot with less, especially when you're building a network and a community. Like you can barter. There's so many things that you can do, especially in the early stages of entrepreneurship, because you can find someone else who's also trying to work on their career. And there's ways to kind of like, hey, let's team up with this. And so you can get caught up in the hype of, oh, I need to have this. And you're like, do you? If you are focused on quality, you
Mhm.
really don't need that many things because you can always kind of like play around with it.
Absolutely. Bare bones, baby.
Yes,
And then you build from there. But yeah,
exactly.
I
Oh,
also thought like when I read the book, it was going to be something like totally, I don't know what I thought it was going to be. But I think the most important thing is it showed us how Americans got to be where we are, where most people don't have a savings account and we are so much in credit card debt. And it was like amazing to see that this was actually orchestrated by the government itself to get people to spend money.
yeah.
And it was just like, wow, like it's not our fault. We weren't all like this. We were kind of trained and like wired to kind of spend money and think about money the way we do. And it's like almost like that enlightenment to be like, wait a minute, the reason why this is hard for most of us is because there's so many factors against us to make us view money and to spend money a certain way. And like we can kind of undo that thinking and be a lot more conscientious with our decisions and realize like, wait, what lifestyle do I want and what do I really want? And if
Exactly.
you really think about it and you're empowered with your choices, like that's all you can ask for. Just own the choices you're making and know that they're actually yours and not being influenced by other people.
I love that. Now, the last question is, how can people find and support you?
Oh, okay. Well, come see me. I'm at 81 Prospect Street in Dumbo. I do virtual consultations. I do in-person consultations. I'm on social media. My personal page is The Confidence NP. The business page is Atelier Confidence. Refer, share the news with a friend. Sometimes people don't necessarily want my services, and that's okay, but I'm sure you know someone who does, and just letting them know, like, hey, there's this person who has a solution for this problem that you have, and like, why don't you check her out? Like, that alone is support. A Google review, get my Google reviews up. That's support. Support does not always mean spending money with me. It's just like, just sharing what I do to people that you know is enough support.
I love that. Thank you so much, Romney, for sitting with me and talking because
I
this
know, we're
conversation could be
good.
hours, and I'm thankful for your tips that will be going throughout the month for the cornrows and curls experience. Uh, just because I felt like that needed to be had.
Mhm.
And so thank you again. And everyone, you're listening to the Art of Braids. I'm your host, Karen Tenard, and you're listening to Romney Cesar of Atelier Confidence.
You got it.